Hello and welcome to Living in Longview, a show about City of Longview government and services. Currently, the City of Longview is working on our comprehensive plan, which is looking at where does Longview want to go over the next 20 years. Today, we're going to be talking in particular about residents' wishes about our park system, and in particular, how our park system has improved over the years thanks to successful planning efforts. Hi, I'm Sean Hara, and today we're joined by Director of Community Services, Laura Hill, and also two very prominent community volunteers, very active community volunteers, Kristen Ishihara and Ann Hugman. Thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you.
Laura, you know, you've been part of the Parks Department for more than 25 years in various roles, so you really have seen the park system grow over those 25 years. Can you tell us a little bit about why planning is so important for parks in particular?
I would love to. The park system you see today is the result of citizen input over decades guiding the development of what they see as a very important part of this community. The city has, as an example, done parks, recreation, and open space master plans in 1999, 2004, 2009, and we're about to update it again. And those plans survey citizens and they tell us their priority for the park system, and that helps guide staff and elected officials through development of parks and amenities within those parks. In addition to the park master plans, the city has done strategic plans that are usually 5 years in basis, and such as Action Longview 21st Century, Vision 2010, and Vision 2015. Those plans, thank you citizens, have all mentioned parks, and that just shows to me that our citizens do care about the park system. We have a tremendous history of planning, and if people will think back, we haven't always had Lear Park, we haven't always had Paul Borman Trail, and if they can remember prior to those, thanks to those planning efforts all those years ago, now we have those amenities in our community that are putting us on the map.
Right. We get to where we are today because people in the past have said this
Right.
is important to us as a community, and that helps guide the decision process for a staff person like yourself that's here and passionate about the parks, and you can help make the decisions that meet what citizens want.
Exactly. Those priorities they give us actually help us apply for grants. They help convince that we need for example, a bond election. That's how we built Paul Borman Phase 2. So those priority lists are critical to planning, and we really need the planning now for the future so we know what the citizens want from their park system.
Right. Kristen, you know, you've kind of had a unique role with the park system because you've been part of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, but you've also been involved in actually creating a brand new park amenity basically from a volunteer standpoint, and that's with our Stradgent Dog Park that's located right there along Paul Borman Trail. Kristen, tell us a little bit about why planning was so important with that and how that process actually came to be.
Sure. Planning was really crucial for the construction of the dog park, and really, just like any idea or plan, it started with a simple wish. A couple of dog lovers and myself were together talking about different times when we'd been at dog parks in different areas, and then realized that there was really no reason that Longview shouldn't have our own dog park. So we gathered other citizens that were interested in that idea and met with Laura and her department, who were very supportive. Went through the Parks Advisory Board at the time to locate some land, which fortunately we have a great piece of land. It's worked out beautifully at the Paul Borman Trail, but planning was really important. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of components in the dog park, but in reality, there was a lot of research that went into specifically the rules, how to do the gates, you know, with the double entry, how to do the flow, because that's really important in the dog park. There are a lot of things that if you weren't involved in the planning, you wouldn't necessarily realize had gone into it. And from start to construction of the dog park, it probably took us about 2 years. And that allowed us to get together all the facts we needed, do all the research we needed to do, as well as generate more interest and more support. During that time, the city was able to direct interested parties to us who were able to support us. We were able to garner the donations needed, the information needed. So patience was important, but planning really was critical to making that happen and making it successful.
Right. I think it's a great example of how, you know, if somebody says, well, I wish we had this, that doesn't always happen overnight, but something where your group had the desire and the, I guess, the willpower to go make it happen, and the patience to say, okay, we realize it's going to take a while to plan, but let's make sure we put it in and do it right and move forward. Another project that has been on the dream list for quite some while and is now moving forward is our Arboretum. And Anne, you've been on the board for the Arboretum. Can you tell us a little bit about where you guys are in the planning process and how you see that out into the future?
I'd love to. In 2005, I think, is when the vision began. And so, again, it goes back to patience and planning. I think that's always important. Again, a small group of people thought, why can't Longview have an Arboretum? And right next to Mod Cobb, if you all obviously all are familiar with the 25 acres, which ended up being a perfect location for the Arboretum. The city in 2012 decided that it was important, and they got together a master plan that took about a year to, again, the planning process. And at the end of 2013, we actually had the master plan. So the master plan is ready. It is actually broken down into components. We have the pricing information and how we could phase the project. And so now we want to see if that meshes with the comprehensive plan of the City of Longview. And so again, planning and how would we raise money? Could this be a public-private partnership? And there's a lot of components that have not been figured out. But again, it's a step-by-step process, and we hope that this comprehensive plan will again bring the Arboretum to the forefront, and it will become part of the vision for the future.
Right. And the Arboretum, something that has been talked about for many years, but you guys are really doing the groundwork now to make it a reality and be ready when grants are available, when funding's available, to be able to move that project forward. And that's really important. Kristen, we're talking about the dog park, Arboretum, and just parks and green space in general, and how that's important for our community. As you are on the Parks and Recreation Board, can you give us a little insight into how community input, how public input helps guide the process for your decision making when you're serving on one of those boards?
Sure. During my tenure on the Parks Advisory Board, I was really astonished at the number of go-getting citizens we have that will bring an idea to that board and then make it happen. Of course, the city is fantastic. Laura is fantastic about supporting their ideas. But during my short time on the board, I saw the Jackman splash pad come to fruition. The idea came, the fundraising happened, and here it is, and I've been using it with my child for 2 years. That's incredible and huge. Other projects that came before our board were the mountain biking trail that now exists out at Mod Cobb. Individual citizens wanted that to happen, brought it to the board, and made it happen. Same with the disc golf course that now exists out at Hensley Park. Those are all projects, little ideas that started with 1 or 2 people that happened because of their involvement and those ideas that were brought to the City of Longview. So I think it's really incredible what can happen when someone has that type of dream.
Right. And, there's a variety of ways where these projects can come together. Ones you were talking about, a lot of fundraising involved from throughout the community, and sometimes there's also tax dollar support. But, Laura, as you know, is one that's had to deal with the budget for many years now, there's always a larger wish list than there are available funds to make them all happen. And so the community input and the public input on what's important to them really comes into play as how you decide where those funds go. Can you tell us a little bit about how that input has helped inform your decisions on how we move forward with improving our park system?
Citizen input, parks are critical to the community, to the quality of life, and citizen input truly guides us in requesting funding and prioritizing funding, which we have to do all the time. And when we have passionate citizens like Ann and Kristen and hundreds of others that are willing to do sweat equity or go out and fundraise, we can make projects happen much more quickly than waiting on tax dollars. So the ability to do Man Splash Pad, that's phenomenal in how fast it has happened and is still happening as we have improvements this year. But the splash pad, we started it, and it's an ongoing process. We still need money. Please make donations. It's just I would have never have thought when I started as a lifeguard in 1977 that we would have a park system like the one we have today.
Right. And, you think about all the expansions that have happened over years, and some of the trails, for instance,
Right.
that we've gotten, some of those have been because of grants, and a lot of those grants happen because citizens have said it's a priority to our community, and so we've been able to leverage our local tax dollars
Correct.
in order to get some of those grants that are out there, because we've said, look, this is what our citizens want, and we can show you that because we got this input from them.
Correct.
And speaking of that input, Ann, you're on the Comprehensive Plan Committee that's happening right now, and one of the big pieces of that is getting that input. Can you tell us a little bit about how that process is going now, and why is that so important to our city?
We had a meeting just this week, and the consultants have actually been very impressed with the results of the survey to date. However, I don't feel their enthusiasm because it was, in my opinion, very low. If we only had 700 responses, I really, really want 7,000. If we are going to create a vision for the future and really have a roadmap for where we are going in Longview, Texas, we need everyone to respond to that survey. And I was speaking to someone from Laterno yesterday and said, please get the students from Laterno, the students from Kilgore College. I think it's very important that we focus on that group of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, because they are the ones that are going to be using all of us are going to use the services. But if we really want to keep those young people here, we need to know what they want. And so I think Laterno has made a commitment to get their students to respond to this survey, and I think the committee itself has really committed themselves to take it to their volunteer groups, to their churches, to their neighborhoods, and really speak one-on-one to people, because I know it's in the water bill and I know it's in the newspaper, and the Longview News Journal has been wonderful, but it seems like people skim over that, and until they're approached personally, they don't go online and respond. And so I know that the city is putting together several groups to go out to the public and to personally to meet with the public, and so I think that's really, really important.
Right, but the critical thing is for people to be aware and get involved, like
Right.
you were saying, is, if there's a group out there, or if it's just your friends, whoever you're with, encourage them to give their input. Everybody has a different opinion, and that's great. Give it to the city so we can look at that and allow your committee to help determine what are those priorities based on what folks are saying. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add about the importance of the comprehensive plan and planning in general for our parks system moving forward?
I want to add to what Ann said about I really want input from young people, high school, junior high, even in intermediate and elementary. We really want to know what they are looking for. It's one thing for we as staff to say we need this, but when we know, people can be creative, and having that input, I think, is so vital to our moving forward with prioritizing development, acquisition, and so many other facets of creating a wonderful place to live.
Anything else you guys would like to add?
I would add that I think it's important our citizens not be afraid to put their idea out there. I did not realize for the months that I was thinking to myself it would be nice to have a dog park, that I knew many of my good friends would also be interested in that, and many people that I'd never met before. So if you have a wish, and everyone has a wish, everyone's thought, I wish that this was in Longview, or I wish that this was different. Everyone has something that's on that list. There are other people in Longview that have that idea, and so don't be afraid to be the first one to put it out there, because you'll get support immediately. I'm sure it's somewhere else out there. So be a voice, be part of the solution, and make sure that you provide feedback so we can plan for our city to be as great as we can be.
Very good.
I'm very proud of the city of Longview for going out there, putting this out there, and really trying to make a plan. I think we all realize how important planning is, and the city is being the leader, and I appreciate that.
Very good. Well, thank you all for coming on and being a part of this, and for the successful efforts that you've made happen to make Longview a better place to live. Well, we'd like to hear from you. If you have an idea on how you'd like to improve the parks, our trails, our athletic facilities, our green spaces, we encourage you to share that information with the City of Longview. Or if you have an idea about anything else in our community, whether it's redevelopment, whether it's businesses, whatever it is about our community, if you have a vision for improving Longview over the next 20 years, we encourage you to share that. Go online to longviewtexas.gov/plan. You're also invited to a special event on Monday, February the 10th at the LaTourna University Belcher Center. There we're going to have a community-wide forum, an opportunity for everyone to share what their vision is for Longview and to learn what our community can be in the coming years. That forum is going to take place at 5:30 on Monday, February the 10th. Doors open at 5 o'clock, and meeting participants will receive a free ticket to the East Texas Symphonic Band's winter concert that evening. We encourage you to get involved in whatever way you can. For more information, you can call the City Manager's office at 903-237-1021, or like I said, you can go online to longviewtexas.gov/plan. Thank you for watching this edition of Living in Longview.